I'm Bradley Sowash, jazz pianist and educator, and today's improv tip of the month is called Rhythm Boxes Part 1. Are you looking for a better way to teach or learn rhythms? In this session, I'll demonstrate how combining traditional note values durations, and that's a key word, traditional note value durations, with learning to see locations enhances rhythmic decoding both on and off the page. Now, what the heck is all that gobbledygook about? That's what we're going to talk about today. And as we get started, I'm going to just have some fun with rhythm. It's so imperative to the style I teach, which is jazz, pop, piano. And when you're doing this by yourself, you need to generate the whole band. You need to be the rhythm section and the melody and the chords and all that stuff. And so let me just have a little fun with some rhythm as we get started here. And then I'll get down to the content in just a second. I have an electronic drum here, which is a lot of fun, easier than setting up my whole drum set. And underneath the piano, I have this bass and hi-hat. And we can do crashes and all that kind of stuff. So let's just see a little bit of ramming and jamming. Boom, jack, boom, jack, boom, chicken, go, jack, jack, C minor. Just to demonstrate how rhythm is more important than correct notes in this style. How do we develop that as teachers? Let's do a cadence here. A flat to a G and a little fill. Let's go to F, E flat, what? D minor, flat 5, G7, and boom. So when I coach my students in improvising, one of the things I often mention is really using rhythm. And what that often means is using rests, right? Using the spaces in between the notes and using the offbeats and all that kind of thing. We're going to look at beginning uses of the rhythm boxes. And I want to tell you in 3 parts today what we're going to talk about: the how and why of rhythm boxes and what the heck they are. And the second one is the practical tips rhythm boxes activities that you can use in your teaching. And the third one is I want to show you a rhythm board, a teaching tool I invented. So first, just a little bit about how the rhythm boxes came about. I used to be the music director at the Ohio State University dance department, and I also was an accompanist there for many years. And one of my tasks was to teach music to dancers. There was a course called Music for Dancers. And I quickly found out that teaching notated music to non-musicians was too big a task to accomplish in one term. And really what I wanted to convey was how to hook their steps to the music that they are choreographing or dancing to, and also how to hear that music. And so I got onto this idea, and I'm not sure if I invented it or heard it somewhere. It's become lost in the vague clouds of my memories. But I realized that by writing just placeholders on the blackboard to represent where notes were located, that was going to be more helpful for them than thinking about the length of individual note values, such as a dot, a quarter, an eighth, and so on. And so I switched to this approach, and it worked very well because it demonstrated that any rhythm can be thought about as being on or off the beat. So later I transferred this idea to teaching musicians in my studio and now online. And then it became a big part of the Creative Chords series that I wrote for Chose Music. And then I created rhythm boards to support it. So let me explain how it works. The concept is simple. And what you're going to do to participate, even if you're watching a replay of this, get out a piece of paper and create a grid like this that has 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row and 2 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4 above 1, 2, 3, 4 below. And each of those will represent a measure of music. So this will be measure 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4. And so the concept is simple yet profound and surprising. So traditionally, we are taught note values, and that explains one aspect of rhythm, which has to do with the length or the duration of the notes. So, for example, we learned that a quarter note is worth 1 beat, an eighth note is worth half a beat, and a dotted quarter note is worth 1.5 beats. That's the length of it. What we often intuit but don't bring to the forefront enough is the location of notes. So those are my two words, duration and location. The location of the notes against the pulse, against the bar, is really how most of us probably read music. So if you think about it, when you see a dotted quarter, yes, we know it has 3 eighth notes in it or 1.5 quarter notes, but we don't actually think about that when we're sight reading. What we think about is when I see and you see a dotted quarter note, we know that the next note will come on the and of 2 because it's 1, 2, and. We kind of know the location of the next note because of that dot. The duration is very, very important, of course, but this is another aspect that we want to highlight a little bit. So seeing how a rhythmic figure lines up with the pulse helps musicians understand the rhythms and see what is on and off the beat. So I'm Bradley Sowash. If you're just joining us, we're talking today about rhythm boxes. We're going to move to part 2 here, where I'll show you some activities you can do with this. And the first thing you want to do is this is for beginners, just to think about how this works and to understand it. Imagine just using X's on the grid you made, how you might make Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Think about how that's organized. 1, 2, 3, dee, 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 dee. So if we have this pulse, So we're just really interested in this much of it. So how would we represent that on this grid of 1, 2, 3, 4, second measure, 1, 2, 3, 4? This is a non-musical notation to think about that simple rhythm. And how we're going to do it is we're going to put X's on the notes or the beats that get a note. So twinkle, twinkle, little star. And since there's nothing on the last beat here, we can, I want to make sure you can see that. You're going to leave that open. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, rest, right? We're not worried about the rest or the length of these notes. This might be held as compared to a rest, depending on how you play it, or it might be a rest. Doesn't matter, but we're only interested right now in the location of these notes. So there's twinkle, 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 little, let's see, twinkle, twinkle, little star. Simple, beginner level, right? Now, you kind of get it. So measure 1 and measure 2, top row and bottom row. Now, let's think for a minute. For this next bit, we're going to need to add eighth notes. So we're going to need some more squares in here. So what I'd like you to do is erase that or make a new grid or get your pencil out. And we're going to add to that some subdivided lines here. Put it up here where you can see it. I'm just going to put a little line between each of these so that each of these beats represents both eighth notes. So now I have room for 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and in measure 1, and measure 2 is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we already had Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star there. Let's put it back on here just in my example as all the beginning of the beats. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. So that's how it might look if we subdivide those into eighth notes for a little bit more advanced students starting to understand eighth notes. Now, what I want you to do, and here's just kind of a puzzle for you, is I want you to turn Twinkle Twinkle into London Bridge is Falling Down by moving only one marker, or X, or token, or however you'd like to think of it. Which one of these X's would we move to go from this rhythmically to this? Moving just one X to get that, would it be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7? So we have to go do, da, da, da. So this is really emphasizing that eighth note. We are gonna have a dotted quarter here, da, 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 da. And so that takes 3, eighth notes, but we're mostly interested in that location and it's on the and of 2. 1 and 3, 4, 1. So Twinkle Twinkle Little Star is now turned into London Bridge is Falling Down by moving one note. We've just gotten a lot more rhythmic understanding about on the beat and off the beat by going through this simple activity. Okay, so now let's just get this a little bit further. I want you to rearrange and add some X's, keeping what you have, to represent the first 2 measures of Go Tell Aunt Rhody. Go tell Aunt Rhody. Go tell Aunt Rhody. So keeping these X's in place, how can you add to that to get Go Tell Aunt Rhody, Go Tell Aunt Rhody? And so take a crack at that. I'll give you a second to think about that. I'll play it one more time. So again, we're looking at beginner ideas here. This can be used in a much more sophisticated way for more advanced students, and I'll show you that in another session. Let's get that. Go tell Aunt Rhody. All right, we need to put the twinkle X back. There's the first measure. Go tell Aunt Rhody, right? And now we need to add something to this second measure. Go tell Aunt Rhody. Rhody. So there it is. Go tell Aunt Rhody. Go tell Aunt Rhody. And so we've represented the location of those notes against the grid, and the grid is 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And we've thought about the eighth notes. Some of them are on the beat, and some of them are off the beat, just like hi-hats and bass drums. Basses are typically on the beat. Hi-hats can be on the off beats or the up, the back beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, or they can be on the and beats or the off beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like that. So here is Go Tell Aunt Rhody represented with X's. We're going to take 2 more exercises here just to sort of stretch your brain and think about the location of notes rather than the duration of notes. And so I'd like you to convert this by removing X's from the second measure. We're going to convert this Go Tell Aunt Rhody to the famous rhythm, shave and a haircut, 2 bits, right? So what would you need to erase to turn this collection of notes here into shave and a haircut, 2 bits? Let's listen to the tune. Let's do it with a beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so lots of tempos there to think about it with. We need to erase some notes to get that. So we first need to get shave and a haircut. Shave and a haircut. Looks like Go Tell Aunt Rhody and shave and a haircut has the same rhythm. So it must be in this second measure that we need to remove some notes. And what we're going to have to get rid of is this first measure, this first beat. Shave and a haircut, rest, 2 bits. Now when you do this exercise with beginners, a lot of them are going to put the beat right there on. I've done this enough. They're going to hit the beat. They're going to play this right here. They're going to think shave and a haircut, 2 bits. They don't hear that rest. Shave and a haircut, rest, 2 bits. And so this is a great time to talk about not only how rest can be felt but not played, but also that how much interest rests add. Shave and a haircut, 2 bits. That big vacuum makes a fascinating rhythmic surprise, and that is a deep lesson for us improvisers to explore what not to play as well as what to play. So we also have too many notes here in the second half, so we don't have any subdivisions here, so we're going to go 2 bits. Shave and a haircut, 2 bits, and then we need to get rid of 4. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, rest, 2, 3, rest. Rest, 2, 3, rest. So what we've emphasized here was not so much the location, the duration of the notes, but we're looking at here the location. How do they line up on a grid, an imagined grid? And music, when it is written in notation, because notation was developed in a time when music was a lot less syncopated. sometimes the location gets obscured. There's a couple of ways this happens. One is that in early engraved music was using letterpress type and sometimes written by hand before that, that was not really spaced on the page in a logical way. You've probably seen something like a dotted quarter with an eighth note crammed right up next to it. It doesn't show the spread of how those notes would be seen against the invisible grid of a measure of music. Another reason that it can sometimes be hard to decipher or decode rhythms is that syncopations that sound the same can look very different. So if you think about the rhythm that is 3 eighth notes, 3 eighth notes, 2 eighth notes, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3, you know that 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, the typical Latin rhythm. Think about how that would be written as a dotted quarter, an eighth tied to a quarter, and a quarter. So it looks to the eye like 3 different sounds, and yet the first 2 are actually the same sound. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, long, long, short, same, different. So thinking through location really makes this clearer. So anyway, if you're just joining us, I'm Bradley Sowash, jazz pianist and educator. Today we're talking about rhythm boxes, and you can watch a replay of this. You can dig around on my Bradley Sowash Music Facebook page and find the raw version, but I also edit them and put them on my website at bradleysowash.com, and then there's a blog there that says improv tips, and each of these end up there with a little bit of commentary and some written examples. So far we've covered how and why of rhythm boxes, how they originated with me teaching music to dancers, and how they work. And we've done a few activities that I'm sure you as teachers, and if there are any students here, self-learners, can find more ways to use it. I'll be sharing more next month about that. But now I'd just like to share a manipulative I built. This is a little clunky here to put electric tape on a dry erase board, and writing it on paper is also just a little a lot of erasing, as you probably already experienced, and so on. And there's different ways around that. For example, you can put the paper inside of a paper protector that goes in a 3-ring notebook and write on that plastic and erase that. But I find you just can't beat manipulatives for really understanding a concept. And so I've made some manipulatives here that I call rhythm boards. Here is an example of one of them. They're handmade out of wood that I find. So one of my pride things is to constantly look. I am a garbage dumper or a dumpster diver. When I see cast off wood in these small shapes, like if someone's building a house or they throw away old shells, I sand them down and reuse them for this, because I don't want to kill trees to make my little products here. And it has the same representation here with the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 measures worth. Hint about the future: you can also use this as pianists. In a future session, I'll show how to use these as 2 different hands, right hand on top and the left hand on the bottom. We also use that way. In some models, I put a different set of notches on the back. In this case, this would represent 16th notes over a measure of 2/4. So then what works really well, I used to teach with just marbles, plain old marbles. They don't show up quite as well when you teach online. So I use white marbles now, and you can you can get yellow marbles and actually sell the marbles as well. But white ones are especially they pop out for you. So let's do shave and a haircut with the white marbles here. How we might represent that. There's lots of ways to use this. I've seen teachers use colored marbles to even represent pitch at the same time, which not something I get too much into. So there's our final rhythm there: shave and a haircut, rest 2 bits, just represented with manipulatives. And of course, there's other ways to do this. I'll show you a lot more. One that I can't keep in the bag is that it's fun to take notated rhythms and represent them onto this box here, the rhythm box. But it's also fun to just sort of like throw the marbles on there and then try to notate it in traditional rhythm. So we get that back and forth between notation and this graphic representation of it. I'll leave you here in just a second. I just wanted to point out that I have a couple other meters that I do with this. Here would be an example of, well, you tell me what would this represent? So as you think about that, I'll go ahead and spill the beans because of the delay. And this would be 3/4, right? So 1 and 2 and 3 and. Yes, Cheryl got it first. Thank you. And Diana, yep. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So this could be 3/4. Now, this wouldn't work for 6/8, right? Well, why wouldn't it work for 6/8? And that's a constantly confusing thing. What's the difference between 6/8 and 3/4? I mean, they both have 6/8 notes in one measure. So what's the deal? Well, this is a great way to demonstrate that important difference. And so we flip it over here, and there's our 6/8. Because 6/8 is spelled as a 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yes, it's the same arrangement of 6/8 notes, but the way it's displaced is different. And underneath there, I have another 6/8. So there are various models of it out there if this interests you, and they really do look good online. And then in live lessons, it's also, of course, a useful manipulative, but it can be especially fun if you teach group lessons. You can do things like have races like we just did, like, who can do Go Tell Aunt Rhody first, or whatever, when the Saints go marching in, or da 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 da. What meter is it in? Which rhythm board do we need? Who could put the marbles on first? You can see it makes a really fun activity and a good one for summer camps if you're doing that kind of thing. So yeah, just to wrap up, I'm Bradley Sowash, the jazz pianist and educator that everybody digs. And today we covered how and why rhythm boxes were invented, and rhythm box activities for beginners. And then I shared my rhythm board teaching tools, my manipulatives. Okay, so you probably already have other ideas about teaching with rhythm boxes, because if there's one thing I know about people who are innovative, it's music teachers. They are able to come up with all kinds of cool ideas as soon as they get onto a concept. So just remember, in addition to teaching location of note value, I'm sorry, I keep saying it backwards. In addition to teaching the duration of notes, or what we call note values, you can emphasize location by seeing those invisible lines on the music score, emphasizing it with a graphic representation. So next month I'll share ways to teach intermediate students with rhythm boxes and rhythm boards, and how to get more out of them. In the meantime, I'm just going to jam for a little bit. So if you need to pull out of here, this is the official end of the content. And I always just like to play like I started. Rhythm in the style I teach is everything. It's so much more important than notes. So I'll set up this. Where does this come from? I think it was from a dancing movie or something like that. Anyway, I thought of this rhythm just randomly this morning. Boom, 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 chicka. C minor. Notice how we're building expectation. So much of one chord. So with no chord change, it's all about the rhythm, on and off the beat. On. So on, off. So really knowing when you're on the beat and when you're off opens up such rhythmic interest. Ready for a new chord? Let's go to A flat, G. Let's change keys, D minor. Man, let's change chords sooner. B flat, A, and D minor. Let's do another one of those. Let's change keys again. E minor. This is how jazz musicians practice. Try trying to do everything in lots of keys. I'll take it out. C, B7. C. Now let's end on a happy chord. Happier. Anyway, thanks for spending some time with me today, and until next time, you enjoy your creative music making journey. Bye for now.